He knocked on my door. Kick up your shoes, climb into bed. Please don't leave, stay here instead.
Welcome back, guys. Episode 36 with Bailey Tamerius. How's it going?
Good.
Bailey, I didn't know of you until 2 days ago, and it sounds silly, but I promise you, ever since I've heard your music, I've only had good vibes for the past 2 days. Like, everything's been so good since I've heard your stuff.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. And I guess, let me open up my beer. Your music to me is very happy. I mean, there's some emotional songs, there's some kind of sad songs, but when I hear your music, it's I don't know, I just feel like free and easygoing. I don't feel tension anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I guess, how did you get your start in music? Did you start as like a choir kid?
So yeah, I guess I've always been into music, watching my older sisters go through choir. I was obsessed with going to all their choir performances. And I got to middle school, then I joined choir, and then throughout high school I was in the jazz choir, which was a 12-person ensemble. And in middle school, I believe, is when I first started to play guitar. So that's when the songwriting happened.
It's always interesting finding out, I guess, people's influences or how they got into it. And being that you just said you started middle school, so what is that, 12, 13, 14 years old?
Yeah, about.
So how did you get your first guitar? Did somebody loan it to you? Did you buy one?
I got my first guitar with my Christmas money because I had just visited Nashville. And so I got this big kick. I was like, dang, I'm going to go to Nashville, become a star. Didn't happen, but I was inspired by that. So I bought maybe a $70 guitar. So it was pretty shitty, but it got me started.
Yeah, it all depends on, I guess, where you start. Like, my start into drums, I played pretty casually. I have an electronic drum set, but if it weren't for me playing rock bands, my friend introducing me to rock band and playing drums, and then my friend being a drummer, like my roommate now, if he wasn't a drummer, I would never have ever started drumming. So it's where you start, and look at where you've got to now. You're what, 20? You said?
Yep.
6 or 7 years with the guitar, and what have you learned in that 6 or 7 years?
I've learned the key of C. I feel like that's what all my songs are in. I definitely have learned to be able to find my own sound within playing guitar. I'm not very good at it, so I try to make myself seem like I'm good by doing some random picking with just being on a chord. But I kind of just learned how to fake it.
No, I definitely feel you on that because I've only been playing drums for a little over a year, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm tired of playing the same old thing. So instead, I'll just add a tom rather than a
Yeah.
dude, I just did something groundbreaking.
Yeah.
I just broke the instrument. I'm so good now.
I feel that.
So you said you started songwriting at 13 or 14. What is a 13 or 14-year-old songwrite about?
Oh. They write about some weird, stupid things. I think what I started with was I was too scared to write about myself. So I started with my favorite characters in things and just I guess kind of see anything through their eyes. I'm trying to think of who I would do. I can't really remember, but and then going further, 8th grade maybe, I started to write about myself, still kind of under the radar, but
It's interesting, isn't it, though?
yeah.
I guess at that age, you seem so vulnerable. Like, you don't want to, I guess, tell your story. You're almost scared. Let's say I guess I can't speak from example, but maybe 12, 13, 14-year-olds are facing depression now, and they don't want to, I guess, allow other people to know that, especially at such a young age.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's a scary thing. And I actually thought about this earlier today. I'm like, are these songs about her, about somebody else, or do you like, I guess, write out endings that aren't yours? Like maybe it's your story at the beginning, but then a different story, like it takes a turn to a different place. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I do that a lot, I feel like. What I'll do is I'll decide on like a moment and then I will start from the moment, which is like a moment I've experienced. But then once I get further into the song, I feel as if that is when it can kind of take over into a different story. So everything's like about my life, about my experiences, but maybe flavored, I guess, with other things.
I love it. I love it a lot. And another thing that I like about your music is no matter what song I'm listening to, I can draw like a picture in my head of like where you may have been at or like what you may have been experiencing. And that's, I guess that's a cool thing about your genre, especially. Whereas maybe in hardcore music, some people can't relate to some of the stuff that happens with hardcore. Maybe some people can't understand the lyrics. But with your type of music, it's nice and soft, very easy to understand, and like I said, draw a picture to.
Yeah, that's definitely the goal is to write a story through song. Definitely.
Now, are you one of those people? I don't mean to categorize you people. Are you one? Are you one of those people who, I guess, writes a like an album based off of one subject, or and tells a whole story through every song, or are you kind of just like a here's a story about seventh grade, here's a story about 12th grade, here's a story about something else?
I definitely love a good storytelling album. Like with my first album, Happy Place, I definitely did that. I You can tell with the titles of the songs. Like my first song is At the Start, my second song is called Two, my third song is Just After Two. Like even with the titles, I kind of do that, and that definitely tells like a full story of something. And even with my second one, I think ended up, I didn't write it that way, but my second, my EP Grown Up, I believe, also tells a pretty straightforward story.
I'm gonna have to go back and listen. I like stuff like that, like hidden facts. I would have never guessed that until, and that's one of the things I like about this podcast is you find out so many little details that you wouldn't have known until you actually like spoke to the artist.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'm gonna have to listen to that again, probably on Sunday morning. Sunday morning music time. Now, here's another question. When do you find, I guess, the most inspiration to write music? Is it a morning time thing? Is it when you're walking? Is it when you're at work?
I think it can really happen anywhere. I love writing at night, but sometimes I feel like I'm forcing it. Um, the main time I write, I never write when something first happens. I kind of wait for a really long time to write about that certain experience or time. And it's kind of when I'm thinking back on something is when I start to write the song. I feel like giving space from when it happened to now um, really helps tell the full true story. And so it's kind of hard to decipher when that occurs or where.
Do you ever lose, I guess, the subject that you wanted to write about sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes other things kind of trickle in and I wasn't expecting it to. And I'm like, dang, I've been wanting to write this song for 2 years. And it's finally come to me now.
God, that's gonna be frustrating. I have those moments when I'm like playing the drums. I'll sit in my car or like I'll be delivering for FedEx and I'm like, this would sound so cool. And then I get on the kit and I'll play the same old stuff and I'm like, no, 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 that's not what I was thinking 3 hours ago. Why couldn't I hold on to it for 3 hours? Why couldn't I hold on to music for 2 years?
Yeah. Yeah, there's this new song that hasn't been released yet. Um, but I've I've been wanting to write it for forever because it's a really personal track and I wasn't able to write it because it was too fresh. But I think it was last summer is when I finally wrote it, and I was like, dang, it has been a long time coming for me to be able to write this song. But it feels so good when you're able to finally get it.
Right. I think, like you said, you have time to look back at it, you have reflection, and maybe there's some details that you would have missed if you just wrote it right at
Exactly.
the time, or maybe there's feelings you hadn't experienced yet because you didn't let it set in and process. So I like that way of thinking. I like that way of
Yeah.
taking time away from it and then coming back to it. I don't know how you songwriters do it.
Me either.
See, I don't think I used to write poems and stuff, and I hardly ever had wrote about personal experiences. It's always like in a wonderland or something like that I think would be crazy if I wasn't in that situation. You know,
Yeah.
so I couldn't imagine writing about myself. I'm a pretty boring person.
You'd be surprised what you can dig up.
I play golf, I play drums, and I work 2 delivery jobs. I don't think there's that much interesting about that. So, what was the last concert you played? Was it the one at Slow Down?
No, the last concert I played was at Drips Coffee, and I played with Diners, and who's a band from Arizona who I've become friends with a little bit, and I think Seymour was on that bill as well as the Orca Wells. I think were on that bill too.
Such awesome band names. What's the Whales?
I think that's who it was.
Did you ever think about renaming yourself and not? Do you go by Bailey Tamerius?
Yeah, I do, because I don't have a backing band right now.
Gotcha.
I feel like if I did like do a band thing, I feel like now I would just go to it in a different way than I am. I would keep doing my stuff just on the side probably, and I guess make a different band.
You would go as your name would now be like B-Tam, Baytam.
BTM, what up?
That I think that's a tough thing. Like coming up with band names, people like sit there and think for hours about.
Yeah,
And a band name is very important because if it's not catchy or if it's not like something that people want to, like if you name your band like the Shit Rocks, people are like, yeah, I don't want to go see them.
no.
It's got to be something catchy.
Yeah, for sure.
Freaking Orca Whales. I'm never gonna forget that now. Because first of all, it's a dope ass animal. Second of all, it's probably a dope ass band. So
Yeah, they're really good.
good correlations. Okay. So when was that? Sorry, that concert.
That was like March 13th, so it was right
Nice.
before everything went down. But a good show to end on.
Do you think you would have changed anything about that show if you would have known?
I mean, if I was able to have a backing band at that time, that would have been awesome because I just love playing full band. I played full band for like a couple of shows, but then it kind of fizzled out. But I really loved that show. I love Diners. Like, they're a great person, and I just love playing with them. I've played with them one other time as well in Omaha.
So can you talk about the advantages and disadvantages, I guess, of having a full band compared to just playing as yourself?
Playing as yourself is very difficult sometimes, with the fact of the matter, if you mess up, you're the one messing up, and it's embarrassing. Stage banter also is so uncomfortable and awkward with only one person. I'd say the advantages, though, is you can always do things the way you want to have them done. And yeah, I like performing solo. It's also, there's some drawbacks with how the audience is paying attention to you. A lot of the times they don't give you enough attention span if you're solo.
Sure. But some people in the front row might be texting and you're like, hey, I'm going to play this sick ass solo and get this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play this string that you never heard before and get your attention. That's why you do it.
Yeah.
Do you have a most memorable experience as far as being a musician goes?
Um, I feel like I have a lot. I really love it when you're in a good community space when you're performing. Like, if you've ever heard of Lucy's Pub, that was a good venue in Omaha that is sadly not running anymore. But I always loved playing there because it was always a great community of people who actually listened and paid attention and supported. Um, I really loved playing there. That was my favorite place to play. And I have some great memories at Lucy's Pub, as well as also just being able to connect with other musicians that I love, like Diners, how I've played with them a few times, and just being able to, I guess, share my music with other musicians.
Oh, that would be the thing. Like, I can imagine fangirling in front of like a band that I'm huge on, and then be like, "Yeah, we're gonna perform right before you guys. If you guys just want to stick around and love us."
Yeah.
Has that happened to you? Have you like fangirled over a band or a person and then had to go perform in front of them?
It definitely happened with Diners. Um,
Man, Diners is getting its freaking time on this
I
podcast.
know. I just, uh, I just always have had really great experiences with Diners. But yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, shout out to Diners. Is it one person?
Yeah, it's
Okay,
their name is Tyler.
it's not me. I can't sing with a shit. That's for sure. I think I can, like when I'm alone, but then do you ever record yourself on like Snapchat singing and you're like you hear it back and you're like, oh my god, that's awful.
Yeah, I feel that.
That's me like 100% of the time. Like I get pretty embarrassed about that. Are you a karaoke type of person?
My dream is to do karaoke all the time. I do some YouTube karaoke sometimes because I'm not old enough to get into many karaoke places.
Oh, yeah.
um, but I love a good karaoke. My family does karaoke sometimes. It's fun.
Do you think it's essential to have a family who's, I guess, ingrained in music compared to maybe you being the only one who's in music? Do you feel like, I guess, that's helped you with your career as far as music goes?
Yeah, I feel like I would not have gotten to where I am if my family didn't love music as much as they do. They're not like musicians or anything. My mom plays piano, but that's about it. And they are very heavily music lovers. I grew up on so much music from them, and I think that it would have hurt me if it wasn't like that growing up.
For sure. Now, one question that I was thinking about earlier is, most like people who listen to hardcore music or heavy stuff, they have a lighter side, right? They tend to go to like rap or music like yours or folk or even like funk music. I love listening to funk music. Does it go the same way as far as like people who listen to light music? Do you guys listen to super heavy stuff?
I I don't know. I personally don't really. The heaviest I get is like just heavier rock.
Gotcha.
But I feel like singer songwriter type is easy to kind of mingle within other genres of listening to. I mean, I've even been put on bills of hard rock before. I'm
Wow.
like the opener, and then there's these like hard rock bands, and I feel pretty out of place, but at the same time, people dig it either way. So
I feel like that's good for exposure and like not cross breeding, cross I don't know, like cross market. Like you're
exactly,
exposing yourself to a whole different crowd that maybe wouldn't have heard of you unless it was for this show. So I
exactly.
think it might be uncomfortable at first, but it's definitely useful.
Oh yeah, I always take those shows. I think it's fun.
Do you ever just be like, yeah, give it up for that band, and then you do something like really silly? That would be uncomfortable if I was a crowd member and I'm like, man, this Bailey girl, she's killing it right now. And she's like, give it up for Slayer. Okay, I'm out. I gotta go to the bar. See you later. All right, if you were in a predicament here where you had to play between 5 of your closest friends and 1,000 strangers, what would you rather do?
I feel like I'd rather do 1,000 strangers. I feel like it's harder to sing and share my music in front of people I know because it is so personal.
Yeah,
So I feel like I prefer playing in front of a bigger crowd of people I don't know rather than a smaller of people I do.
no offense to your friends, but do you think they would like bug you and be like, okay, what's this song about? Bailey? Is this about me, Bailey?
Maybe. If that would happen, it would. I don't know how I'd like that.
Yeah, I think I asked this question to who was it? Bach Mai. I was like, would you rather play a song to the person who it meant the most to, or something along the lines like, if you could share your music with one person compared to 1,000? I don't remember how I phrased it, but it was like, God dang, this is gonna kill me. I would rather play in front of 1,000 people rather than one person who it really meant a lot to, because I'd be so scared. I'd be so psyched out. Like your focus has to be on that person.
Yeah,
But at the same time, the connection when you hear that stuff and you know it's meant for you is on a way different level than it would be between 1,000 people.
for sure. I think it would just depend on the person.
Oh, I couldn't. I still couldn't do it. I think I'd have stage fright for sure. No matter if it's one person or 1,000.
Yeah.
So I guess how did you get into your first show, and what kind of stage fright, if any, did you experience?
I played my first show in December of 2017, I think. Um, it was me and then Garst, the local Omaha band, and it was both of our first shows. So we were kind of in it together. And we played at the 402 Arts Collective in Benson? Is that in Benson? I think it's in Benson. And I was so nervous. I had to be like shoved out the door to go because I was like, I can't do it. But once I did it, I was really glad I did it, and it sparked a whole bunch of other shows. But it was definitely very scary. I still get stage fright every time I perform.
I think it just, I mean, I think it just means that you care about it, you know? If you don't get nervous about doing something, I don't think you really give a shit about it, or it's been done enough times where you're like, oh, it doesn't really matter anymore.
Yeah,
It's just a sense that it matters to you that much, you know?
yeah.
Shit, I get scared freaking bowling. And I've done that since
I feel that.
I've done that since the age of 4. Like I've been doing that my whole life, but I still get nervous about that shit. Yeah, bowling. Oh. Okay, so you've been playing since 16. Oh, here's another question. Gracie, get out of the room. Whatever, Gracie's gonna watch. Now I've gotta like speak to Gracie and you. It's gonna be tough. Um, as far as promoters go for your specific genre, how does like who is the main promoter as far as it goes for you?
Me, myself.
Gotcha. See, I was always curious about that, like for singer-songwriters compared to bands, because I guess we are lucky enough in Omaha to have like third string productions or Aorta, now known as Nice Enough, like
Mhm.
multiple to pick from, and they'll be like, hey, I want this band to come play this. I want this band to come play this. How does it work out for someone like you?
I feel like whenever I get shows, it's mostly I'm just added onto a bill. Because it's not like a filler thing, but it's kind of a filler thing, I would say. Not in a bad way, but I think that's where I mostly come in is like, oh, she's a great opener. Let's put her in. I've also just some of my local friends are sometimes like, oh, I want to play a show with you. Let's do a show. And so that's how that'll happen. I think it's mostly just me making connections with other people rather than one type of promoter
Yeah,
promoting me to other people.
I like that. I like that. I guess it's more personable that way. People know who you are and they're
Yeah.
She'd be a great opener, which means they must have seen you before, or they must have seen you performed, or at least know you on a personal level to trust you to open for their show. So it must be like a compliment when that, I guess, when that ask happens.
Yeah, it definitely is.
And you're like, oh, little me. Oh, sorry. Have you ever had to, I guess, deny a show and then be like, oh my God, I cannot believe I missed that show? I
I
guess it's
think,
deny, turn
I
down.
don't know if I've ever had to deny a show. I think I've either been able to take off work or call in. So I always make it a priority if I get shows to do them, because it's hard, I feel like, as a solo artist to get a lot of shows, so I take as many as I can get.
Like the attitude. I mean, who cares? It's just work, right? It's only money.
Yeah.
But hopefully those days off work count. I mean, hopefully, like in a couple of years, you're gonna look back and you'll be like, well, if I didn't take that day off, I would have been in this predicament compared to since I took this day off and look at where I am now, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I hope it goes well for you. I mean, you're only 20.
Yeah, I forget that sometimes. I'm like, I need to be further along. But
I still have to talk to myself about this podcast. I'm like, we've had it since September, and then I think about the people who have had podcasts for like 6, 7 years, and they're just now starting to take off. So I stress about it in the meantime, but at the same time, the growth isn't important necessarily. It's like having real conversations with people like
exactly.
you and people like the artists of Omaha and giving them exposure. I just want to make this clear. I do not do this for like my own self worth. What I what I like want to do is to have this podcast for people to watch and for people to find out about their local talent.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like the cool thing about Deanna's got a great ear for music. She knows a lot of people. And if it weren't for Deanna, I would have never known about you.
Yeah.
And then my last 2 days probably would have been shit because I didn't hear your music. And think about that effect it's had in the past like 2 days.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't know of you. I heard your music, and boom, you're here. It's
Yeah, it's awesome.
so you've played with Bachmai. We talked about that.
Yeah.
Bachmai a couple episodes ago. How did you meet Mr. Bachmai?
It was at the show, but through Instagram and stuff. Um, we were like following each other and everything. But then at the show, it was such a fun show. I loved that show, and it was just cool to play at the Slowdown. But yeah, we met at the show, and I guess the rest is history.
Have you guys done any, I guess, duets together or ever like?
No, we haven't.
What a tragedy!
I know, but I would love to.
We'll talk to him
Kind
after the
of
podcast about this.
Yeah, for real.
We're gonna call him out. We're gonna be like, Bach, listen, we got to talk on the podcast. We said there's gonna be a duet or something happening here soon, so we've gotta please the people out there. He's such a good dude.
Yeah, definitely.
And the crazy thing is, I've known of him for 2 or 3 years now, and just a couple weeks ago is the first time we've ever talked.
Dang. That's how it is, though. Like, I mean, yeah, I knew of him for a while, and then getting the show is how we started to talk. So
Do you
I
think
guess
it's
that's how it works.
do you think it's a fear of, I guess, creeping somebody out nowadays?
Yeah.
Bach, I've been listening to your music for 2 or 3 years, and I really love it, and I just really want to play a show with you. Like for some reason, that comes off creepy, but it's like such a good compliment. Like
I know if somebody did that to me, I'd be like, dang, like, that's awesome.
Yeah, let's get a timeshare together. Let's hang out more, baby. Oh my gosh. Let me close my door really quick. This is really bugging me. Have you ever considered, and I know it's scary, have you ever considered doing like American Idol or any of those shows like that? Or do you think those are kind of just a show compared to an actual talent contest?
I haven't really ever considered that. I grew up watching American Idol. Like, I had an American Idol birthday party in like second grade, I think. But I don't know. I haven't watched it in probably 5 years, I would say, but I don't think I would ever do it. First of all, because every time I watched it, I felt like any person who made it far was just like kind of a belter, like, you know what I mean? Like a kind of sings and has really loud moments. I just feel like it wouldn't be right for a type of person like me. As well, I don't really need to make it that way if I make it ever.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of a shortcut. Like if you
Yeah,
do make it, you're kind of skipping the line compared to those people who've been grinding for 5, 10, maybe even 15 years.
yeah, exactly.
I like that. I even if I was a songwriter or somebody who did sing, I would never in my life ever sit in front of 4 people like that, or 3, whoever it is now. I don't even know who it is. Katy Perry, Luke Bryan, Lionel Richie, maybe.
That sounds right, maybe.
Okay, maybe I do still watch it. No big deal. But I would never do shit.
To be judged like
Oh,
on television, God no.
Lionel Richie, he's been singing for what, 60 years, and he's like,
Literally.
yeah, you're absolute. He wouldn't say this, but he's like, oh yeah, you're absolute shit. I've seen like better. I'll just go back home and keep practicing, I guess. Lionel.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, life's over. No big deal.
Yeah, I guess as far as music goes, there's the type of people that like take that as constructive criticism, and then there's some people who don't take it as constructive criticism and just done, just give it up.
Yeah.
Have you ever had an instance where you had to take, I guess, constructive criticism from somebody?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, especially being a solo artist, I get constructive criticism. Like a lot of times people come up to me and are like, dang, you would be so much better with a band or like stuff like that. And I'm like, cool. um, I try to take it as just like straightforward and it's like, yeah, it's just constructive criticism, but I feel like it's hard for me also to not dwell on it and to be like, well, that sucks. Apparently everyone hates me, but I have to get past that because it's not the truth and but sometimes it's just hard, I guess.
Oh, no doubt. Well, it's kind of like what you were saying before, as far as the songwriting goes. Maybe you don't understand it like the way they meant it then, but if you visit it later on, maybe it'll make sense. I
Yeah.
think it's, I think it's just scary to accept what they're having to say.
Yeah. To be like having them say something rather than like, wow, that was great.
Yeah, because
It's like,
I
oh,
think I guess people are so used to everything being good. Like,
yeah.
like, yeah, you did great. And then when 99% of the people say, yeah, that's great, and 1% says, yeah, you could have done better, you're always going to dwell on the 1%.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, I suck.
Yeah, either these 99 people are lying or this guy's telling the truth. You got to be the one to figure it out.
I really have had mostly positive interactions though with people. Most of the people I've talked to have been really, really nice.
I think if you're brave enough to get on the stage, or even brave enough to, I guess, share your music with somebody, you've got to give an artist credit for that.
Yeah.
Whether it's good or it could be better. First of all, are you up on that stage? No. Second, did you come up with the lyrics? Did you write the guitar? Did you write all that stuff? No. So give artists credit for the work they've been doing.
Yeah.
Now we
For
just need to
real.
make an applause by just woo! Woo! Maybe Deanna can edit that in or something, and cut me talking afterwards, and then we cut to this. Exactly. Yeah. Whew. Oh my gosh. I cannot wait for shows to start again. That's the damn thing. Are you pretty worried, I guess, coming back?
I don't know. I really don't know how things are gonna go in the future. I'm interested, I think, to see how venues respond to everything and the changes they'll be making. I'm really excited to start performing again. I didn't realize how much I would miss it I guess, because I always get so scared that sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I hate this. I don't want to do this anymore. But I do love it, and I really miss being able to do it.
I just miss. I even post something that's kind of. I guess it depends on what type of person you are. There's a band by the name of Jesus Piece. They're pretty like a lot of people know them, but they're not like well known. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I watched a live video of theirs, and I'm like, I miss the smell of like venues, like sweaty venues.
Yeah.
It's kind of, it's weird, but it makes sense if you've been there.
Yeah. I miss so many weird things. Like, I miss going to the door and getting my little hands stamped. Because when I go back, I won't get those stamps anymore. I won't have the the stamp marks on my face. I'll be 21. But it's just, I just miss going to shows. It's messed up.
And then people are going to be like, yeah, good show. Here's a drink. And they're going to be like, ah, I guess I have to accept. And yeah. Is that going to be your opening line? You're going to be like, hey, what's up? I'm Bailey. I'm 21. First show that I'm playing when I'm 21. I'll take, and then you just name your drink.
I'll be like, if you like my set, please like give me alcohol.
Guys, I wouldn't. I really don't care if you do, but if you do, like, it's awful.
I won't not accept it.
If you could have like a post-show meal and drink, what would ideally be sitting either in the back room or at the bar for you when you got done?
The Highway Diner in Lincoln, Nebraska. It is my favorite place in the whole world, and it has the best food for post shows. It is the best. Like, they have this thing called the hot stripper. It is so good. It is like bread, and then there's chicken strips,
Mhm.
and then there's hash browns,
Mhm.
and then there's eggs, and then
Okay.
there's cheese, and then there's gravy. It
Okay.
is so good.
It's called the hot stripper.
Yeah, it's a hot stripper. Go to the Highway Diner once it's open and get a hot stripper. It's fun to order because you say, hey, can I get a hot stripper?
Let me look out and see how far away it is. Highway Diner, Lincoln.
Five.
Closes at 10. Let me see how long it's going to take me to get there.
I've done many night trips to the Highway Diner from Omaha.
It's only an hour and 3 minutes. I got this. I can make it in time. It's only 8:05.
It's open 24 hours.
Bailey, you need to stop doing this.
I know.
You need to stop tempting me with really good
I
food
know.
right now.
It is so good. It's the best place ever. I went there every day in high school, straight up.
Every day?
Every day. Me and my friend would go there and just sit there forever.
And they're like, this is what they do. They go, hey, welcome. Bailey.
Yeah. They were starting to recognize us for real.
Bailey, you play a song. You know the deal. You play a song, you get free food. So play the song, Bailey.
I would play so many songs.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine rather than, I guess being on a street corner, let's say you play your guitar for tips, rather than that, they're like, you go to Highway Diner, you play a song, you get a free meal, and you're like,
Dude, that's the dream. I would love that.
there we go. We gotta work on getting you sponsored by Highway Diner, Highway Diner,
Favorite thing.
rather than being sponsored by guitar or whatever. Yeah, Bailey, sponsored by Highway Diner, Lincoln, Nebraska. That would be so
Dude,
fun.
I need that. That's awesome.
That would be so dope. Okay, we're almost to time right now. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my God.
Time, time flies when we're having good conversation. So let's wrap this up. Uh, let's talk about any new music that you got coming out. You said you've got unreleased songs.
Yes.
Any hint to what they're about or when you're seeing them?
So I'm recording a song right now. I'm very new to recording by myself. I've never done it myself. So mixing and mastering are really scary to them, but I'm learning. Working on a single called Could Be. I think that's what I chose for the title. And yeah, it's another one of those songs where the situation happened and it's been like a year maybe, and I finally wrote the song. So it's one of those kind of sit back and reconvene and see what my feelings were about the situation, which I just love doing that. But that's definitely where it came from. And I actually did a video of it for a little YouTube channel called Small Songs. So it's out in the world, but it's just not recorded in the world.
Ooh, people have to go find it now.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. And then lastly, I think you have a Facebook page for your artist page,
Yep.
and you probably have Spotify. So if you want to plug anything right now, if you have merch, any good stuff, plug it right now if you could.
I am on Spotify. Listen to me on repeat while you sleep. Just let it play. Give me those listens. Put it on silent. Yeah, I think I'm on iTunes. I think Amazon Music. I'm on like everything, but Spotify and Bandcamp are the main dudes. And I have an Instagram, my name. But yeah, hopefully I'll be having some new music coming out soon once I get the recording situation figured out.
Well, once you have it out, I'll plug it for you. So if there's any last words you want to say to anybody listening, go for it. A little bit, yeah? There we go. You're good now.
There we go. I was like, oh my gosh.
So if you have any last words for anybody listening, what would you want to say?
I would want to say, watch out for those solo artists out there. They have a lot to say, and sometimes not many people to share it with. So if you're seeing an opener and it's a solo person, just listen. Just listen, and maybe you'll find something that you will enjoy. So yeah, say just respect the solos.
Perfect. That's a great way to wrap it. So once again, episode 36. Peace.
When I first saw you, called out my name, and I waited for you to know. I waited for you to see that stay the same. We've come a long way. I'm shaking in my knees and begging, baby, please kiss me slowly like your lips tell me a story, and it's just for me to hear. I'll listen closely, my dear. When it gets dark, I'm no longer afraid, 'cause I know